With Bleach's return finally announced, many people are excited and should absolutely be. But as that inevitable time draws ever so near with each passing day, I start to remember a certain man, a certain fellow, whose charisma, charm, and presence permeate through the entirety of that arc. A man who I believe is Bleach's best villain from top to bottom. A man who is waiting in the wings to tread over this new age of anime and remind them of the absolute dominance that a good old-fashioned domineering villain can produce. I am talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Juha Bach, the king of the Quincy, and this video is specifically dedicated to the lore around his birth. So without further ado, welcome, it's your boy Rebirth, and we are going to talk about my man, Juha Bach, however you want to say his name. So without further ado, let's jump right in and get started. There existed a baby. He could not see, he could not hear, he could not speak, and he could not move. He had no means of prolonging his survival. Yet this baby was not afraid. He did not cry. He did not have the capability to cry, but even if he had, he would not have, because the baby knew that even without a means of prolonging his life, he would survive and live on. This baby, wherever it is that he existed, was treated like a precious treasure by the people around him. This was for one reason. Every person who touched the baby found that they would gradually gain something that they lacked within themselves. Damaged lungs would be healed. The lonely in heart were satisfied. Cowards found courage. Even lost limbs would be reformed. This was because this baby possessed the power to share out his own soul. Anyone who touched this baby would receive a fragment of his soul, and those fragments healed them of their respective afflictions. At the same time, as their wounds healed, the knowledge they had gained, the abilities they had amassed, and the skills they had awakened would be imprinted onto the soul fragment of this baby. And then, at the moment of their deaths, those fragments would return back to this baby. Now, the people who touched this baby did not live for long. A few years, a few months, and some a few days. But even though they knew this, they did not stop touching this baby. And so, as he regained fragments of the soul that he had shared out, and as the fragments accumulated, the baby's arms and legs started to heal, his eyes started to see, and he began to hear. In time, his deaf ears had awakened to the point that he could hear the name of the people around him called him by. It was the name of a god they worshipped. He decided to take that name on for himself. JHWAH. From a young age, he was able to share his soul with those around him. All Quincy have the ability to gather the spirit particles around them and use it for their power. But Juha Bach had the opposite. He could share out his own spirit with others. As a child, he could not control the means of impartation, but after a while, he learned that by engraving a letter signifying the ability he wanted to give directly onto another's soul, he could share out his soul more deeply and effectively. If he were to halt the system of give and return, he would slowly but surely return to his former state as a motionless, speechless being. For that reason, he must continue to wage war and use the vehicle of war as a means for his own survival. After a grueling defeat at the hands of the Shinigami 1,000 years ago, a Quincy folklore came about concerning this progenitor. The sealed king of Quincy regained his pulse after 900 years, regained his intellect after 90 years, regained his power after 9 years, and regained the world in 9 days. This is the origin of the sealed king of the Vandenreich, the progenitor of all Quincy, the son of the Soul King, Juha Bach.